In a few hours, I'll be heading over to New York to cover your favorite franchise's season opener at Madison Square Garden. And I'm going to do so in full support of the broader plan, but with some questions. Good morning to you. Good Monday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Penguins. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or baseball, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Pirates in the same place that you found this. Penguins versus Rangers is an 8:15 p.m. face-off tomorrow night at the Garden. It'll be, I'm sure, all about the Mike Sullivan Fair and that sort of thing. To some people, I guess. I'm not really the narrative-driven type. I'm going to cover a hockey game that's part of what I think is a pivotal hockey season in Pittsburgh. And I'd love to see the right decisions made even before it gets started, but all throughout. Now, I'm obviously not anybody's arbiter for what's a right decision and what's a wrong decision, but I'm comfortable expressing my own viewpoint after having been around this club for, 30 years or so. And I got to tell you, I mostly like what's been done. I mostly like what emerged from training camp. And I mostly applaud the roster decisions that were made as a result. And I'll give you examples of the positives first. I really loved, as you might imagine, given how I've spoken of them, that both Ben Kindle and Harrison Brunick are going to get at least some time and something of a chance to show that they can stick in the NHL. I'm of the belief, if you're new around here, that it's beyond absurd to send either of them back to their junior teams. They have nothing to prove in the Western League. And in fact, the Western League could set them back. They could lapse into bad habits. They could lose, essentially, a year of development. And if what the Penguins are all about right now, as they profess to be, is making sure that they're getting the absolute most out of the prospects that they have, well, you can't be sending these kids back unless something were to go really wrong over the next 9 games and their maximum period would expire here. So it's great that they're here. It's great that they've made it this far. I also think it's a great outcome that Sergei Murashov had exactly the camp in the preseason that the Penguins would have hoped, and they still summoned the inner strength to send him down. 17 games at the AHL level in your second professional season in North America. No. He'll be fine in Wilkes-Barre for a while. He will push his way up into the NHL this season. I have to applaud the Ryan Graves waiver / demotion. This isn't to pick on him. This isn't to keep going after the same scab, but you can't force bad contracts onto the ice forever. You can't. It's not fair to anyone involved, least of all the coaches and players that you have at ice level. They shouldn't need to be paying for your mistakes into infinity. I don't like sending Tristan Brose down. I don't understand sending Brose down. He seems to me to represent so much of what it is that you need at the NHL level. That energy, that passion. He's got a touch. He's got some skill, all backed by some real pedigree. But then it looks that much worse when you see that they're keeping Justin Brazeau, who's a big frame and really not anything else. I could say the same thing about the blue line. I have no earthly idea what they saw in Caleb Jones. I have found things to like at various points about Parker Wotherspoon, about Matt Dumba, especially about Connor Clifton, because the Penguins could really use somebody knocking people on their rear end. But the one general issue that I have about the way the roster is constructed for the opener that I really not excited about at all. I feel like Dubas brought in way too many of these mediocre dudes for the purpose of conducting a competitive camp. Well, the problem with signing those mediocre dudes, or at least in that volume, and only having one of them on a tryout, and that was Robbie Fabry, and he's already gone, is that you're stuck with them. You got to put them somewhere. So what happens? They go to the AHL, they crowd the AHL roster because there is a limit on how many NHL veterans per their criteria are permitted to be on that roster. So you don't just go stacking an AHL roster. So those guys have to get ice time somewhere, because if you don't put them on the rink anywhere, you'll never have a chance to move their contracts. You'll never have a chance to distribute them to somebody else. And that's what this Brazeau thing feels like. At least, man, I'm going to be honest with you, at least I hope that's what it is. Because there's no way, even though it was just one preseason game, there's no way that the members of this team's front office and coaching staff watched Brazeau in that game or watched Jones in that game and said, yes, there are guys. Because both of them were brutally bad. But we'll see. As people are fond of pointing out this time of year throughout the hockey world, the roster that you have on opening night might only be your roster for 1/82nd of the season. So we'll see how it all plays out. When we come back, J1Q.
Hey guys, if you're planning to see a concert or a Penguins game, once the NHL season starts, use the Game Time app to get your tickets. You can snag new ticket deals before anyone if you set it into app alerts. The app is easy to use. No surprise fees at checkout. You can see your seat view before buying, and you're getting legit tickets delivered on time. If you're not much of a planner, you can get last-minute deals on tickets right up to the start of an event. Lowest price guaranteed, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Download the Game Time app and enter the code DK Penguins in your app profile for $20 off your first purchase.
Today's J1Q comes from Timmy, who says, hey, DK, I'm stoked that both Ben Kindle and Harrison Brunick are starting the year with the NHL club. But since there's no Tristan Brose or Owen Pickering on the initial roster, and Kindle and Brunick can head right back to juniors as soon as Brian Rust gets healthy, this youth movement feels kind of hollow to me. Am I nuts here? It feels like we could be right back to no kids pretty quickly, other than Ville Koivunen and Rutger McGroarty, while we're still looking at Nola Chari, Blake Lizotte, Justin Brazeau, Connor Dewar, and blah, blah, blah. Tim, I'm with you on this. I really am. I had projected beforehand the roster that I'd hoped to see coming out of camp. Now, hope can be and should be dependent in large part on performance. Did the players rise up? Did they disappoint? But I had as many as 5 or 6 young guys, players who would qualify as NHL rookies, making this roster. And if it's going to wind up less than that, yeah, it's bad. Okay? There's nowhere to hide from that. And it's doubly bad, at the risk of repeating myself, if you end up sending Kindle and Brunick all the way back down to juniors, because now you're burning a year of their development. You're not making them better as hockey players. I'm sorry, you're just not. I'd posit that they have more to gain from being in Pittsburgh for, 50 or 60 active games if you don't want to overuse them or overburden them. That would be of greater benefit to them and to the Pittsburgh Penguins now and into the future than any kind of arrangement that would be made with their respective WHL teams. Listen, Brose is the one that leaps out for me. Not that he's the best of this bunch. He's not. But he did everything they wanted him to and more. He met every fair expectation and then exceeded some. And as I see it, although he can play several different positions up front, he's being kept off the roster by Brazeau. I don't get that at all. There's no plus to that. None. And I don't buy the AHL/NHL contractual situations much either, because if you have too many NHL types in the AHL, you can just make them go away. You can just release them. you're still paying them and they're still counting against your total number of contracts and so forth. But, hasta la vista. I don't know. Like I said, Tim, let's see how it plays out. I can't imagine that this team's going to watch Brazeau for more than a couple of weeks and say, oh, yeah, just wait till we get everything we can get out of him. Whereas I could see Bros going down to Wilkes-Barre, and I haven't heard anything of the kind. I'm just throwing this out there, in a bad mood. He thought this was going to be his big opportunity. The general manager said publicly that he very nearly came up at the end of last season. So go down there, get it done, show yourself all over again. And ideally, this gets made right. I haven't even mentioned Philip Hollander, but he's still around too. That also would be something that adds to this component. We'll see, Tim. We'll see. I'm headed to New York tonight. I'll be accompanied by our beat writer, Taylor Haas. We'll be bringing you coverage from all across the continent. We never miss a game. We're there in person. We're asking the questions and we're reporting on our app. And this is where you come in. We're seeking, an additional companion, really, but also some support. Our app is our everything. It's how we pay the bills. It's how we do these shows. It's everything. I want to ask you to download it. That part is free. Just go to Apple or Android, your store, and type in DK Pittsburgh Sports. You'll see it there. Simple enough. Once you do that, you're not going to like it. I'm going to tell you that in advance because there's a lot of ads on it. You can't comment. You can't ask me or Taylor the questions that you'd want to ask because all of that is reserved for our premium level. I want to make sure that you can find the premium level eminently affordable. So if you email me, dk@dkpittsburghsports.com, I will email you back how to get a massive discount on that premium level. dk@dkpittsburghsports.com. Talk to everybody again from New York.